If I could grow a magical plant, I would grow a plant which would give me pets such as dogs and hamsters. My favorite food is chapati because it's delicious and you can eat it with many things. I would like to become a farmer when I grow up because it is a profession which gives a lot of money to the farmer.
Welcome to our beautiful school. This is Watoto Shambani.
Yay!
Today we are learning about orange farming.
Good afternoon, kids. I'm delighted to welcome you to my farm, and today I want to take us through the modern techniques in orange production. So this is the orange tree. So I want to invite you, anyone who has any questions to ask about orange farming, I will kindly take up your questions.
Hello, expert Jared.
Good
I
afternoon.
have a question.
Yes.
What is the ideal soil for planting orange trees?
Thank you so much for that. That's an important question. So in orange production, we are looking at a very good loamy soil with a good pH value of over 6.5. So ideally, we should have a good loamy soil that can support orange production.
Hello, expert Jared.
Good afternoon.
I have a question.
Yes,
What is the recommended spacing between orange tree plantings?
that's a good question. The recommended spacing between orange trees ideally should be between 12 to 25 feet, depending on the cultivar or the kind of variety that you are planting.
Hello, expert Jared. I have a question. How deep should an orange tree planting be? How deep should it be?
Thank you so much for that question. So as a rule, we do the circumference of the planting hole. That's the surface, and we say the ideal planting surface should be at least 12 to 25 feet. So you multiply by 2 or times 3. So the ideal planting hole should be at least 2 meters, in the sense that we will do 10 kilograms of manure at the very bottom of the pit. Then we add a little bit of topsoil. So yeah, then we can do the planting now proper.
Thank you. I have another question. What are some common pests and diseases that affect the orange trees, and how can you manage them?
Thank you so much for that question. So let's start with pests. The most common pest that affects the orange tree is what we call the aphids. The aphids, they feed on the leaves. So in the process, they deprive the tree of its ability to make its own food. So that's the most common menace or pest that affects the orange tree. Of course, we also have the white flies. The white flies, they also affect the actual fruit itself. It saps the orange juice or the pulp. And now coming to the control measures is that in my farm, I adopt what we call the integrated pest management. Integrated pest management in the sense that we look onto all other aspects of pest control, because we have biological control, we have cultural methods of control. So chemical control, that's the use of commercial chemicals, is really in the very last consideration we make. So there are so many things. For example, we can consider the spacing. The spacing really helps to reduce the number of pests that affect the plant. So if all these other methods, biological methods, fail, that's when now we revert to chemical control. When it comes to chemical control, there are so many insecticides in the market. So depending on the severity of the attack, we can be able to control the pest infestation. Secondly, I want to talk about disease control. The most common disease of the orange tree is what we call the blight. We have area blight, we have rate blight. So as a rule, what we do is that we go to the market, we source for a good fungicide so that we can be able to control disease infection in the orange trees. I hope I've answered you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, expert Jared. How long does it typically take for an orange tree to mature and start producing fruit?
Thank you for that question. From the time of transplanting, that's when the actual life of the orange tree begins. So also depending on the cultivar or depending on the variety, it typically takes 2 to 3 years for the orange to reach full maturity. Now, the second answer to your question is the first time when the orange flowers and actually starts the formation of the fruit. So from that moment, it could take anything between 3 to 6 months for the fruit to reach full maturity. Hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, I have another question.
Yes.
What are the signs that an orange tree is ready to flower?
Thank you so much. That's an important question. So one of the best signs that will show you that your orange tree is about to flower is the fact that it will shed most of the vegetation, because most of what you see here, it will shed fast. So after the shedding process, then a new set of leaves will come up. So those new set of leaves that have come up, that's the biggest sign, of course, that your fruits or your orange tree is about to flower. So it must shed completely, not completely, but it could shed most of the vegetation. Then from there, you know my orange trees are now about to flower.
Hello, Expert Jared. I have a few questions to ask. How do environmental factors such as humidity and temperature affect orange growing?
Thank you so much for that question. One of the most fun aspects about the science facts about orange farming is that the temperature must drop before the orange tree can start flowering. So aspects like humidity, that's the moisture content, must drop. So with very hot weather, the tree struggles to flower. So yes, really, the temperatures must drop, yeah, before the tree can flower.
I have another question.
Yes.
What are some of the common orange types that are grown, and how do they differ in taste and color?
Thank you so much for that. So you have in mind like we have the Washington type, we have the tangerines. Now the major difference is in the color after ripening and also the taste. The Washington variety is very sweet, but the tangerines are they have a sense of bitterness in them. So very briefly, that's about it.
Hello, Expert Jaffred. I have a question for you today. What are the potential time to harvest oranges?
Thank you so much for that question. So one of the best guiding factors that will guide you to know that your oranges are really ready for harvest is the change in color. So you would have observed during the time of flowering, during the formation of the young fruit, so it will reach a time when the fruit will change color. So primarily, the change in color will guide you. It will tell you your fruits have reached maturity and they should be ready in a couple of days.
Hello, Expert Jared. I have a few questions for you. How should harvested oranges be stored to maintain freshness and flavor?
Thank you so much for that question. Harvested oranges are highly perishable. So one of the biggest considerations you do in your storage consideration is that they should be stored in a cool place, away from direct sunlight. So the place should be cool. There should be enough air circulation within the storage area. Yeah, those are the major considerations. So the level of temperature should be very low in a cool place so that they can preserve the freshness and last for much longer.
Thank you. I have another question. What are the different methods of orange juice extraction?
Orange juice extraction. So I have in mind what we call the crusher. The crusher in the sense that you take the orange after ripening to a factory. There's a special machine called the crusher so that it's able to squeeze and remove all the pulp. That's the liquid part of the orange, is what we call the pulp.
Good afternoon, Expert Jared. I have a few questions to ask you. Firstly, how is orange juice produced and preserved for commercial sales?
Thank you so much for that question. Now, the process of orange juice extraction for industrial use, I think with technology, now we have precision machines that are able to extract the orange juice in a factory setting and preserve the pulp. The pulp then is added other preservatives so that it can be used in other derivatives. Yes.
I have another question.
Yes.
What are some orange byproducts and how are they utilized?
Thank you so much for that question. As you could know, the orange, some of the byproducts that can be extracted from the orange. Of course, number one, we have the pulp That's the liquid part that can be used in making juices for industrial use and for other uses. Of course, the second derivative is the seeds itself, because you realize after the crushing process, the seeds will remain. Then, very lastly, we remain with the outer covering. It can be used for animal feed and other commercial uses.
Good afternoon, expert Jared. I have a few questions to ask you. What are the main factors that influence orange prices in the market?
Thank you so much for that question. As you could understand, the supply and demand side affects the pricing of the orange in the market. In the sense that if the supply is diminished or we have a short supply, it means the commodity will fetch much higher pricing. Also, when the demand for oranges is high, it means the sellers will also be able to increase their prices. The second most important consideration is the competition. The competition in the sense that, for example, in the case of our country, if we have imported oranges coming into the country, it means it will put pressure on the pricing of the oranges we produce. So yeah, in essence, two major considerations: the supply-demand part and the competition. So those are the big factors that influence the pricing of the orange in the market.
I have another question.
Yes.
How do marketing practices differ for fresh oranges and the orange products like juice and marmalade?
Thank you so much for that important question. Now, the main difference lies in the fact that most of those who market the juice are big commercial companies that have a lot of resources, so they are able to do a lot of advertising. When it comes to the orange farmers, in the sale of fresh oranges, most of them are small-scale farmers who don't have any means of advertising and other means of marketing. So yeah, the sale of the orange byproducts as an edge when it comes, it has a competitive edge in terms of most of the juice makers and those other byproducts. They are established entities who have the means to be able to penetrate the market more and also do the advertising more. So I think those are the major differences that I could highlight.
Hello, expert Jared.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What are some key considerations for packaging oranges for retail sale?
Thank you so much for that important question. When it comes to packaging orange for whatever market, I think one of the biggest considerations you're going to make is the cost of the packaging material. Because if you use an expensive packaging material, it means you won't recover that cost from the sale of the orange. The second aspect which you consider is the durability of the packaging material. Then lastly, the third part you consider is the health and safety aspect. So you're going to use materials that are safe for food storage. Yeah.
I'm also interested, how do transportation and logistics impact oranges during distribution?
That's an important question. Very, very, very important in the sense that the orange is already ripe. So if the kind of transportation we're using affects the orange in one way or another, it will affect the final product that will reach the market. In the sense that we need to transport the oranges in a proper way, in proper crates, so that whatever pumps, whatever effects it has on the way, it doesn't affect the orange. So yes, bad transportation methods will affect the final byproduct.
Good afternoon, expert Jared.
Good afternoon.
I have a few questions. What are some of the recipes or dishes that feature oranges as the key ingredient?
So yeah, as we would all know, we have the cakes. The cakes, we have the beverages, various beverages. They have orange as an ingredient. Yeah. Kids, good afternoon once again. I want to thank you so much for making a visit to my farm. We have taken some time. You have fielded question to me. So it's my hope that I've given you the kind of answers that you needed. And it's my hope that you also take orange farming or another agri-business venture as your side hustle. So at this moment, I want to invite you. We go, I show you how we do the actual planting of the orange tree. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, kids. Welcome from the break. So we have now come to the farm. We want to do a demonstration on how we plant the orange tree. So the starting point is to dig the planting hole. As you see, this is the spot we have isolated for planting our seedling. So I think it's an activity you will do yourself. So I will guide you through on how to make the planting hole, even the depth. So let's start with you. What you are holding is a jembe. That's what we use to make the planting hole. Make the planting hole. Make it deep. Go around. So kids, what we are making is a planting hole. We want to achieve a depth of at least 1.5 meters because down there we will have a layer of manure. On top of the manure, we will add the topsoil, the one we have extracted. Then we will now be ready to do the transplanting of our seedling. So yeah, go around. Let me show you. Yeah, this is the planting hole. So as you can see, our soils, it's a good loamy soil. So as you can see, we have achieved our depth of the planting hole. So I will take two boys. I'll show you the manure. Come over. Just scoop the manure with the spade. Bring the spade. So this is our compost manure from our poultry farm, which is we wanna use to do the planting. Scoop inside. Spread around. So the importance of the manure, this is the source of nutrition for the young plant. This is what it will feed on in its formative time. So that's why we do the deep hole, so that after a period of 3 to 6 months, we're able to add another layer of manure as a source of nutrition for the young plant. It's pure organic manure, so it's a good source of plant nutrition. So at this stage, we have done our manually. Now let's add a bit of the topsoil on top of the manure. This to assist because the young roots will be spoiled by the manure. So we need to cover the manure with a good layer of topsoil. Then after we have done this, someone come down. We want you to do a planting hole here now, in the very middle, with your hand. We use your hand to make our hole. So I think it's good that you add the topsoil so that the young roots are not burnt by the manure. So having reached this stage, it's now time to add water. So let's have water. The planting hole in the middle, in the very middle. Yeah, that's about enough. So we have added water to our manure and our topsoil. So it's now time to do the actual planting. As you could realize, we added water to the planting hole. One of the reasons for adding water is to reduce the amount of stress the young roots will suffer. Because you see, we are removing it from its home where it was used. So to add water, the second reason why we added water is also to make a good mixture between the manure and the topsoil. So that's the most important consideration we make when adding water to the planting hole. Of course, as you realize, it rained yesterday, but then it's not enough. We need to add a little water so that the young roots can be able to survive the new environment. So the kind of manure we have used is from our farm. It's pure organic manure. And one of the considerations we make is that manure is a good source of nutrition for the young plants, as opposed to the commercial fertilizers that are acidic in nature. So one of the advantages of the chicken yard manure which we are using here is the fact that it sustains the soil for a much longer period of time, as opposed to the commercial fertilizers that affect. Because one of the considerations we make is the fact the soil is a living organism. It's like a human being. So it responds so much to different stimuli and different characteristics. So as a rule, we recommend that we use manure, which is a very sustainable way of farming. So at this stage, I want to invite us to take up the next process, which is the transplantation process. So there are various steps we take when we are doing the transplanting. And those steps are meant to minimize any risk to the root system of the young seedling. Because the moment you affect the young roots, it means the seedling will not establish and your seedling will die. So you will not achieve the required crop planting population as could have needed. Then again, when you come to repeat the transplantation process, it means it's a cost on the farmer. So we make every effort at this first stage to make sure that the young seedling survives. So one of the considerations we make, as you saw from the nursery bed where we got the seedling, we watered the whole seed bed. And one of the reasons for watering the seed bed also is to reduce the amount of stress on the young seed, on the young roots, and also on the young plant. At the same time, we have done watering on the new home for the seedling, also for the reasons I've explained, that we need to reduce the amount of stress for the young seedling, and also to make a good mixture between the manure and the topsoil. So at this point, I want to invite us to do the actual planting now. And one of the considerations that we make before we do the actual planting is that we make every step to minimize any damage to the root system of the plant. And one of the ways that we achieve that is, you can see this soil here. This is the soil. So we don't want to have any disruption to this soil, because this part, the pitimost, is what is holding the root system for the young seedling. So the biggest process we're going to make is to make sure that there is very, very minimal damage to the root system of the young seedling before we do the actual transplanting. So I want to demonstrate to us how we want to achieve this without having to affect the root system of the young. So as you can see, I've extracted the young seedling. The root system is intact. So it means there is very, very minimal disturbance to the root system of the young seedling. So one of the things we are looking at is that we have a very high chance, a very high probability that our young seedling will survive the new home where we are bringing it. So as you can see, we did the manure, we did the topsoil, we mixed. So I want to ask one of us to kneel, just kneel near the... I want us to demonstrate how we do the actual planting. Use your hand to make a hole, the very middle. A bit deep. Yeah, that's enough for us. So one of the things we are considering is that we want to plant the seedling in an upright position. So that it can be able to support the root system. Because if you bend, it means the root system will not be supported adequately. Just hold this surface with two hands. Then you take it down to the planting hole. Be very careful. You don't damage the... Yes. That's the kind of position we wanted to stand. Make it tight, squeeze the soil against the young seedling. Yeah, that's very okay. So this is our new seedling. We have taken it to its new home. So one of the things we are doing before it's recommended that we also add a little water after having done the actual planting. So take a little water, just a little bit all around. That's okay. Yeah, this is meant to reduce the amount of stress to the young plant. So our new orange seedling is now ready to establish in its new home. Kids, we have taken you through so much. Since the time you fielded questions, we have also done a demo. I hope you are now able to do an orange plantation on your own. I thank you so much.